This is spicy right here. Sony's new State of Play is arriving today, and there is absolutely no mention of Marathon, which is leading some to speculate about the potential cancellation, but I don't think that's the case. I instead think that we are just looking at a pretty hefty delay. Paul Tassi wrote this article here titled Bungie's Marathon, Not at Sony's New State of Play. Next look months away. It's going to be a while until we see the next Marathon reveal. We do know that they're currently working on playtests right now. Let's see what we got here. Sony has just announced a new PlayStation State of Play that will arrive tomorrow with 35 plus minutes of reveals and news about PlayStation Studios games. One game that will not be there is Bungie's Marathon, despite the fact that the game's original release date was literally today. Sources with knowledge of the situation tell me that Marathon is not at the State of Play, no release date, nothing. It's crazy that Marathon was meant to actually come out today, right? Like, this is the actual day that we would be purchasing Marathon for $40, jumping in and playing that game. Now, obviously, it has to sting a little bit for the developers that have put 5+ years into this game, but it's what happens when you go through all the controversies and honestly, when you have a lukewarm reception to your game, right? The bar in game development has been raised over the years, higher and higher, and we expect more and more out of these games. In this day and age, in 2025, if you want to drop a game, you have to surpass expectations. You have to come out with a game that obviously you can't come out with a game that looks like it could have arrived in 2020 or 2015 and been okay. Like, you have to raise the bar. And Marathon does not do that at all. Marathon is not about to be imminently discussed in some larger Bungie presentation after going dark. The earliest we will see something from Marathon is November, and that's a maybe right now. Wow. So we're potentially 2 months away from getting the first official glimpse of Marathon post art theft controversy. And man, the internet is going to erupt as soon as they show anything, right? Like, you already know the way things are going. If the temperature of Destiny 2 right now is indicative of anything, it's that any Marathon news is going to be received so poorly. It's going to be downvoted into oblivion. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. I've been following the ratings for Edge of Fate lately. Every day it's getting a little bit lower. Where are we at now? We're at 7% now. 7% positive, so 93% negative. Now, when does Renegades come out? That's the real key I want to know. All right, so Renegades is going to come out December 12th, 2025. So I'm going to call it now that Bungie strategically, if they have any strategy left, right? If they have any experts that understand trends and stuff, right now it would be really wise for them to announce Marathon stuff on like December 3rd. Here's why. On December 2nd, we're going to get Renegades, and they've clearly put a ton of money and developmental effort into it, and it's going to see a huge surge in population and interest in Destiny 2, and people are going to be happy, at least for the first 24 hours. While they're happy, it's time to strike while the iron's hot and be like, aha, here's Marathon, by the way. Boom. Drop Marathon right in the heat of the positive reception of Renegades, assuming that Renegades does get a positive reception, which I do think is the case. That's the timeline. So I don't anticipate any Marathon news in November, even though that is when this is proposed, because November is going to be like a rough month in Destiny 2. November is the last month before Renegades drops. So we'll be in month number 5, 6 for Edge of Fate. It's going to be looking bleak right around then, especially if like the current temperature and the level of frustration is indicative of what's going to happen over the next few months. November is not the time to even discuss Marathon. December 3rd, the day after Renegades, or maybe even with the launch of Renegades at this rate. Otherwise, you're just going to see some serious hate reviews. You're going to see some serious review bombing, etc. If it is November, that does align with what Bungie previously said in its Marathon development update post in terms of the timeline. You'll hear from us again later this fall when we can share the progress we have made alongside the game's new release date. Thank you again for your patience and, much more importantly, your passion. Your continued feedback will help us make Marathon the incredible gaming experience we all know it can be. November is still fall, but that would be 6 months after the post was written. Quite a long going dark period indeed. Behind the scenes, the game is going through a number of closed, this time NDA'd alphas, which they're keeping things, pretty lock and key with these NDAs. There's been a few rumors floating around here and there, but I haven't seen anything from these NDA alphas. I've heard rumors of what's going on, but there's no confirmation of exactly what's happening. Where Bungie likely regrets doing the very unfinished limited alpha before that, which led to a lot of negative feedback. To be fair, though, if Bungie did an NDA alpha originally, then that means that the plagiarized artwork would have been in the game on whatever time they actually showed the alpha, right? So it would have just delayed the inevitable. Like the stolen artwork would have been there regardless, right? It would not have been discovered until that alpha went live. Once the alpha went live, then everyone could, be like, holy crap, this is terrible. And if it had come closer to the deadline of when the game needs to launch, that probably would have been worse for the game, right? Like you would have been right close to the deadline and then you have to cancel it or potentially delay it and then redo even more stuff, right? Very problematic. We also don't know the end result of the scrubbing of Marathon from plagiarized assets that were found, nor what resolution was reached from the artist. Let's see what they actually say here. June 29th, so literally 3 months ago was the last time we heard anything. I'm sorry for the lack of follow-up, RE Marathon. I will give an update as soon as I'm able to. Thank you again to everyone who has helped out. I fully intend to respond to every message and donation. So they have gone completely silent, which is very interesting because they were extremely vocal initially. I'm confused as to why they're being so skittish now. Like, why are they deciding to be so silent all of a sudden? I imagine the issue would have been resolved by now to some degree. Like Bungie, like this is like obviously top priority for Bungie. They would have had everyone and everything involved in resolving this to the highest degree possible. I'm sure it amounted to a massive payout for them, or who knows what else, But it's very interesting that it's completely silent and that there's no like, you would almost want the PR of this to be twisted into a positive if possible. They even talked about hiring this individual for working at Bungie. And if that was the case, that would be good PR for Bungie. It seems like that's probably not happening, I guess. Obviously, not that this would really be an issue for them, but there could be issues of like defamation, right? Like she Anti-Real, right, is obviously calling out Bungie and calling out their practices and stealing their art. There is do want to be careful though with some of these things because not that she would deserve to get a defamation lawsuit, but you just don't want to call out, you don't want to go too hard, you know what I'm saying, and get involved in some crazy lawsuit, right? Not that Bungie would win in any situation like that, but those things do escalate quickly, especially when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars on the line. It quickly jumps into, legal issues quickly. So my indication, considering that they haven't said anything negative, considering how vocal they were before in being negative, since they haven't said anything negative in months, I would assume that the issue's been resolved. There's probably just a hefty NDA on it. Like Bungie doesn't want the positive PR. They don't want any attention to it at all. They kind of want everyone to just forget about it, which is going to be really difficult because it's kind of the only thing people know about Marathon at this point is that it's a game that stole a bunch of art. So they have to like basically reinvent the entire brand and identity for this franchise. And it's going to be difficult, but at least they're not allowing, or at least they've began to hushen and quiet down the noise of the art theft thing to some degree. A November reveal raises questions about whether the game will be out before Sony's estimated release window of it coming out in this fiscal year before March 31st, 2026. So what you don't know is that they said they wanted to release it this fiscal year for them, which ends March 31st. I don't know that matters as much. I know that they have like certain budgets that they're trying to do, but if you really want Marathon to be successful, which might not even be a possibility in this, like, no matter what, it might not be a possibility. If you really want it to be successful, you don't give it a deadline at all. You just continue to develop it and make it as good as it can possibly be. And once you are at a level where you're comfortable with launching it and know that the community, the larger gaming community will be impressed with your product, then you launch it. So March 31st, March, June 2027, who knows? Like whatever delay you need. But honestly, at this point, I think you do as much as you can and then you just ship it and see what happens, because I think that we're looking at another Concord situation where a lot of money is going to be burnt. I don't think anyone could get behind this game. I think it's going to be very hard and very awkward to get behind this game and be like, yeah, I'm a Marathon guy, man. Like I really like this game. This is my game. I just think it's going to be a tough sell. I think that it's kind of like, it's just like when a bridge is burnt, it's burnt. And they're not trying to rebuild the bridge from the ground up. They're just trying to put a new paint job on a burnt bridge. That's what it is. They're trying to slap a new paint job on the bridge that's completely collapsed and burned down into rubble. So I don't know about that one. First, about Marathon, how we factored it in the forecast. We expect the launch to happen within the fiscal year, says CFO Lin Tao. We reported on this earlier. But having said that, this is not a commitment. No official announcement has been given yet. Like I said, they're not committed to this. They're not like it must go live March 31st at minimum. As it stands right now, I don't see that happening, honestly. We are now fixing the problems, so we believe this launch will happen. That's crazy. So we believe this launch will happen from the game developer that has all the power to do so. And if this launch is canceled, we need to do the revision of the valuation. However, as of now, this is not expected. The launch, here's the launch before the date, not the launch of the game at all. Unlike some are saying, there is almost no chance Marathon is canceled this late in the game, but the specter of the disastrous Concord is no doubt haunting Sony. That said, they have recently expressed confidence in the game. Where are they getting this confidence from? Where are they getting this confidence from? This is not it. The best case scenario, truly the best case scenario for Marathon at this stage, considering everything that's happened, is they need to go free to play and try to make some money off of microtransactions. That's about it. Because ain't nobody paying $40 for this game. Nobody. Make it free to play and you'll get a significantly higher degree of people playing. You'll probably get a bunch of people hate playing the game, which is not necessarily good for the community, but at least you get people in the game, right? You get people actually playing. Free to play is the only way to go. I know people will say that's, that's going to invite cheaters in. You got to have a hefty anti-cheat. You're going to launch a game in 2025 without a good anti-cheat, you're cooked. So a really strong anti-cheat, launch the game free to play. That's what really wins back the good spirit, right? If this is the first ever extraction shooter that has that's well developed, that's free to play, that actually changes things in the gaming market. That actually moves the needle in a way that people be like, whoa, I can play an extraction shooter free to play. That really disrupted the gaming market in general with all the other genres of games out there. You look at all the other free to play games, it makes a big difference, but you have to be really confident in your product. You have to be confident that the game itself is so good that people will play and people will spend money on the microtransactions. And the good faith isn't there right now, The good faith isn't there. Free to play would probably help win it back to some degree. I do think that is the right play. I think that's the only, if you actually think about the cards that Bungie can play right now, what else could they play other than free to play for Marathon? To win back good faith from the community. What other card is there? There is no other card to play. You have to do the free to play for Marathon. And even that is not a guarantee, but at least it gives you a chance, because without free to play, this is just DOA. It's just DOA. Nobody's going to spend $40 on it. Everyone is going to laugh at it. Everyone is going to mock it. And it's going to be forever the stain on Bungie's legacy. Bungie developed Marathon, incredible game. Destiny 1, best game ever, in my opinion. Destiny 2, also pretty good at times. And then Marathon, it's going to be rough for them. It's going to be a really rough time. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate what's happened. It's sad that it got to this place, It does not strike me as particularly necessary that Marathon is released this fiscal year, as it's not likely to be some huge initial earner for Sony, given how things have progressed so far. But if fans were expecting an update in any regard about the game, it won't be tomorrow, and it won't be until at least November, maybe. I'm telling you, December. I'm telling you, it's December, and it is tied to Renegade's launch. It's December and it's tied to Renegade's launch. That's when you get Marathon news. There's no other way around it, because right now Bungie's PR and Bungie's public image is in shambles. They've been getting roasted worse than they've ever been getting roasted before. So announcing Marathon 2 months from now, or a month, I guess it would be like a month and a half from now, right? Would be the worst idea ever. You would have to be completely brain dead to think that this would be a good idea. There's no way there's any Marathon news in November. It's going to happen, I'm calling it now, with the launch of Renegades, or within the first week of Renegades. Once Renegades is super hyped and everyone's excited and everyone's happy and everyone's having fun and they're like, oh my God, Star Wars this, Star Wars that, boom, drop Marathon on their head. And then people will be kind of torn. They'll be like, okay, well, we're messing with Renegades and this is good, but Marathon, okay, yeah, it's whatever. Maybe they ignore it, right? Maybe it doesn't get as much hate. That's about it, dude. That's about it. If they do announce Marathon in December with Renegades, December 2nd or December 3rd, Marathon's announced, they give us a trailer and they announce free to play, along with Renegades being successful and everyone's happy about Renegades, like assuming that's the outcome, even if it doesn't work out, that's just at least Bungie made strategically the best decisions they could. I'll give you a good example. There's some scenarios and in business and in strategy that are just unwinnable scenarios. No matter what you do, you cannot win, right? Like there's times, you're playing a chess match, right? And it's check, like the next move you make, it's checkmate, There's unwinnable scenarios. That's where Bungie's at right now. There's some unwinnable scenarios with Marathon, but even still, there is some better decisions. There's still a hierarchy of worse and better decisions. The best decision, launch with Renegades free to play. The worst decision, announce it in November. Watch what happens. Can you imagine the hate, the downvoting that happens if they launch it in November or they talk about it in November? It's going to be so bad. Let me know what you think about this situation. How do you feel about Sony choosing to not even mention Marathon in its new state of play? No mention of it at all. I don't think Sony even wants this PR that wants the PR of Marathon. I think that Sony almost wants to distance themselves from this. They're trying to keep a good reputation when it comes to their games and development of their games. And I feel like the PR for Marathon is so ugly and so detrimental that no one wants to touch it. It's one of those things that's just, I don't think any game devs want their names to be associated with it. I imagine there's a lot of people in Bungie Studios that are requesting to be taken off the project and to be put back on Destiny, or just are leaving in general, applying for jobs elsewhere. No one wants their name associated with this thing. You know what I'm saying? No one wants their name associated with I developed Marathon. That's not good on the resume. That's not good on the LinkedIn. This is just the disaster we're waiting to happen, and it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. And only time will tell what they decide to do, They're going to need a crazy strategist. They're going to need like the ultimate strategist of all time to pull this off. They have to pull off the greatest psyop in modern history.